Hello and welcome to the studio. I'm Emily Key here with Oak Mountain Media, and today I have a chance to sit down with someone whose hard work we don't normally get to see firsthand. Miss Sheffield, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
So to get started, can you kind of take me through your early education and what led you directly into teaching, especially at Oak Mountain?
Well, at Oak Mountain, I actually grew up in this community. So I actually went to Oak Mountain schools. So I was already kind of familiar with the community and familiar with how things worked here. I kind of knew from a young age that I wanted to teach. I don't really know why, but all I knew as a kid was I didn't want to do what my mom and dad had done. So I wasn't going to be a nurse, you know. So I kind of always wanted to teach, and then I kind of by accident ended up taking Latin my freshman year here, and I fell in love with it immediately. And so I knew kind of from then on that is what I wanted to do. I continued studying Latin at the University of Alabama for my undergrad and started teaching. Also got my master's from Alabama.
No, that's awesome. So when you say you took Latin by accident, what did that entail?
Well, at the time when I was making that choice when I was in 8th grade, we used to have 4 languages that we offered here. We offered Spanish, French, German, and Latin. My sister had taken French, and she didn't really love it, which is more to say about her than it is about the language. So I decided I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to take Spanish because everybody took it. Yeah. And I had no idea what German was. And it kind of scared me. Yeah. So I just decided to take Latin. And it's been, I guess, great ever since.
No, I can remember coming to a similar conclusion with that.
Yeah.
So when you're surrounded by languages like French and Spanish, places that are really well known, how do you as a Latin teacher with a dead language how does that work? How would you explain that to someone who doesn't understand the concept?
Well, that's exactly what I do. I have to explain it every time. People always ask me like that question, or they ask me if I'm fluent in Latin. And I will say, I've always studied Latin, and I teach Latin as something that I'm trying to build a reading proficiency in. So, even I personally am not fluent in Latin. I could not have a full-on conversation with you because I don't know words for things like TikTok or social media, because those words didn't exist for the Romans. So instead, what I try to do with my students, and what I've always done, is to build up their knowledge of the vocabulary, the grammar, and the syntax of the language to allow them to actually read and interact with texts that were written by ancient authors. So while we don't in my classroom focus on more communicative things like talking about what you did over the weekend or days of the week and stuff like that, instead we focus on that reading proficiency. So the first 2 years are typically spent learning more of how the language works and all the building blocks and pieces that you need to make it work for you. And then when we get to the upper levels in level 3 and AP, we pretty much spend the whole time reading unadapted Latin text. Wow. So right now in AP, my students are going back and forth between reading works by Julius Caesar and by Virgil. And in Latin 3, they'll get to read some Caesar, Catullus, things that were actually written 2,000 years ago without any adaptations.
No, of course. And in being able to go through these 2 years in Latin with you, and a lot of people don't know that with Latin comes Junior Classical League, or JCL. So what does that entail on the school level and the national level?
Okay. So the Junior Classical League is the younger branch of the American Classical League. The American Classical League is a society for those who want to study and appreciate more about ancient civilizations of Greece and Rome, whether their language, their culture, mythology, religion, all kinds of things like that. So this is just the younger people's branch. And so our school does have a National Junior Classical League branch. And we abbreviate JCL, and it essentially functions just like a language club. We just say that our Latin club gets a fancy name. We are in the JCL. So we exist to, be excited about Latin, to promote, study of the Romans, and really ultimately to have fun. Yeah. We get to do some fun activities every year, although this year is a little bit different. We always hold a holiday party called Saturnalia, because that's the pagan holiday that the Romans would have celebrated. We actually get to go to a state convention with Latin students from all over the state that is a really great thing and allows our students to compete in lots of different areas, and they always come home with lots of awards. So yeah, that's kind of what JCL is about.
Ite Aquilai, if I could add that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ite Aquilai. Go Eagles, yeah.
But now everyone's least favorite question, how has COVID impacted all of this? Yeah.
This is, I mean, I'm sure probably most of my other colleagues here at work would say this is literally the hardest year of teaching.
Yeah.
I thought my first year was difficult, and then I've gotten to this year. So for me, it's really difficult to deal with things consistently changing. If it's not the policies changing at the state or county level, it's, you know, chasing after which student is in which situation, who's virtual, who's quarantined, who's back in person. Even just coordinating with that, how do students get textbooks, or how do they get the resources that they need? And then pretty much daily, I'm having to deal with making my assignments in multiple versions. So I'll have a paper version here, a digital version. Do I have all the pictures and all the links and everything ready for the digital version? Just basically, I feel like I'm creating everything in duplicate and sometimes triplicate, and it just keeps going. It's a lot more work to get through even just one chapter than it would normally be.
So 3 classes a day, basically, for each class you teach in person.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. Fortunately, I kind of have lined it up where my virtuals and quarantines kind of do the same thing. But yeah, it's about, you know, I have all 4 different levels, all 4 different preps, and then you multiply that by now it's basically 2. I feel like I'm doing 2.5 people's jobs.
Wow, I bet, yeah. And I know it's been really difficult, but what have you kind of looked to through all of this to keep you motivated?
For one thing, I keep telling myself this is not the year to make any decisions. This is definitely not, you know, any kind of baseline year that we can, you know, judge normality off of. So basically just trying to think of, you know, getting through it. That maybe sounds terrible because I still want my students and everybody to have a good experience, and I hope that they are too, and I think they are. It is still a good year. There are still good and positive things. Even when sometimes I feel, you know, grumpy in the mornings or something, when I get to actually be in class with my students who are funny and quirky and interesting, you know, I feel better about it. But we like to, my husband and I, who also teaches here, we like to relax at home by, I mean, we go on walks a lot. We like to spend time with our cat, who is our child. I personally like to read a lot. He likes to listen to and play music and stuff like that. So we just try to find and focus more on those kind of things that are our interests to kind of get us through this year a little bit.
And I know, speaking for myself and a lot of the other students, we've seen and greatly relied and appreciated on your class and the effort we can tell you put in. So that's been awesome.
Well, I appreciate that.
So going back to your cat, what's your cat's name?
My cat's name is Mia. She is a fluffy calico who adopted us at our old house. She was a stray and kind of just started following us around, and then we moved actually in 2019, and we took her with us, and so now she is an indoor cat, not exactly by choice, but she's really funny and sweet. So,
is there anything else you're doing outside of school to stay balanced?
You know, we just try to, I guess, be around friends and family reasonably so, as much as, you know, is possible or recommendable. Pretty much that.
And centering back to being around different people, you're a guard sponsor at the school.
Yes, I'm the sponsor for the color guard. This is my 4th year doing that. And I have learned it entails a lot more than I would have initially known. When I first started as a sponsor, I didn't even know that winter guard existed. But anywho, yes, I do that as well.
So has that been a big involvement, especially since you're working really closely with the band in that regard, going to every football game? What is that like?
Yes, it is a very large time commitment. Which, I mean, I like it and I've come to enjoy it. When I was in high school, I was in the band. So while I don't have actual guard or dance experience, it's still been really great for me to feel like I'm around and part of a live performing, you know, event again. So in the fall and in the summer, I'm with the marching band, and I really love being able to be around that environment, and especially the directors. We've become close friends, and to see the kids working hard and achieving something great is really incredible. And then during the from about November through March is the winter guard season, which is like the indoor color guard competition season. So that's what we're going on with now. And it's great, and I really love it, but it is definitely a time commitment. Yesterday I was here from 7 in the morning until 7:15 at night.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lot of time, but I think it's really worth it to be able to give these students an area that they can shine in, and that they can work hard and be proud of themselves for what they're doing. So.
And of course, I remember after my first day in your class going to band practice after school. I was like, whoa, there's Miss Sheffield.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Yeah, it is always funny when my students realize, oh, you also are here. Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming in today. I'm really glad we got to sit down and talk despite only seeing the first half of your face. I'm really glad.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And that was Miss Sheffield. To keep up with us, check out @OakMTN Media on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and our new website. And for Oak Mountain Media, I'm Emily Key.